Jake Morrison looked out the window of his spaceship. He could see a huge space station in front of them. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The station looked like a giant ring floating in space. Bright lights covered its surface. Like stars. There it is, Jake said to his crew. The Galactic Council Station. Jake was the captain of the ESS Horizon. This was Earth's first ship to visit other worlds. The humans were excited and nervous. They were about to meet aliens for the first time. Lisa Carter stood next to Jake. She was Earth's ambassador. Her job was to talk to the aliens and make friends. With them, Lisa had worked for the United Nations before. She was good at talking to different people, but she had never talked to aliens before. Remember, Lisa said to her team, we want to make a good first impression. These aliens have been watching us for years. They know we exist, but they don't know much about us. The aliens had been listening to Earth's radio signals. They heard human music and TV shows. They saw that humans were always fighting wars. The aliens thought humans were not very smart. They believed humans were just learning how to travel in space. Dr. Ben Taylor was also on the ship. He was a scientist who studied life. His job was to learn about the aliens they would meet. Ben had read all the information they had about alien species. But reading about aliens was different from meeting them. The horizon moved closer to the station. Jake could see other spaceships near the station. These ships looked very different from human ships. Some were long and thin. Others were round like balls. One ship seemed to be made of light. Incoming message, said the ship's computer. A voice spoke in perfect English. Human vessel, this is Galactic Council Control. You are welcome here. Please dock at Bay 7. Jake was surprised. How do they know our language so well? They've been listening to our radio signals for decades, Lisa explained. They learned English from our broadcasts. The Horizon docked at the station. Jake, Lisa, and Ben put on their best uniforms. They wanted to look professional. They walked through the airlock into the station dot. The first thing they noticed was the air. It smelled different. Not bad, just different. The gravity felt normal. The aliens had made sure humans would be comfortable. 3 aliens were waiting for them. The first alien was very tall and thin. Its skin was almost see-through. Jake could see veins under its skin. This was a Zephyrian. Welcome to our station, the Zephyrian said. Its voice was soft and musical. I am Coordinator Vel Thani. We are happy to meet humans. The second alien looked like a giant insect. It had 6 arms and big eyes. This was a Corvin. I am Hive Speaker Kex Nodal, it said. Its voice sounded like many voices talking at once. The third alien was harder to see. It seemed to be made of blue energy. This was a Voidling. It did not speak with words. Instead, thoughts appeared in the humans' minds. I greet you, Solid Ones. Lisa stepped forward. Thank you for welcoming us. I am Ambassador Lisa Carter. This is Captain Jake Morrison and Dr. Ben Taylor. We represent Earth and all humans. Vel Thani smiled. At least, Jake thought it was a smile. Come, we will show you our station. Then, we will talk about Earth's place in the galaxy. They walked through long halls. The walls were covered with pictures and symbols from many worlds. Jake saw hundreds of different aliens walking around. Some had fur, some had scales. Some floated in the air. Some looked almost human, but not quite. How many species are in the Galactic Council? Ben asked. 347, Kexnodal answered. Each species brings something special to our community. They entered a large room. It had a round table with many chairs. Different chairs for different types of aliens. Some chairs were filled with water. Some chairs floated in the air. This is where the council meets, Vel Thani explained. Here, all species have a voice. All are equal. Lisa was impressed. This is amazing. How long has the council existed? For over 10,000 years, Velthani said. We have brought peace to most of the galaxy. Wars are rare now. Trade is good. All species help each other. Jake noticed something. All the aliens seemed very peaceful. They spoke softly. They moved slowly. Even the insect-like Corvin seemed gentle. What do you do about crime? Jake asked. What about pirates or criminals? The aliens looked confused. Crime is not common, Velthani said. Most species are civilized. When problems happen, we talk. We find solutions. But what about violence? Ben asked. What if talking doesn't work? Kexnoodle's big eyes stared at Ben. Violence is primitive. Civilized beings use words, not weapons. Lisa quickly changed the subject. She could see the aliens were uncomfortable. Talking about violence. Tell us about trade. What does Earth need to do to join the galactic community? For the next few hours, the aliens explained how the galaxy worked. They talked about trade routes and communication networks. They showed the humans maps of space. They explained which areas were safe and which areas had problems. The aliens offered Earth a standard package for new species. Humans could trade in a small area of space. They could access basic information about the galaxy. They could have a few colonies on empty worlds. This is very generous, Lisa said. She was being polite, but she was a little disappointed. The offer was small. Humans would be junior members of the galactic community. But Lisa understood. Earth was new. Humans had to prove themselves. The aliens were being careful. They did not know if humans could be trusted. We accept your offer, Lisa said. Earth looks forward to working with the Galactic Council. The aliens seemed pleased. They arranged for more meetings. They would teach humans about galactic law and customs. They would help Earth set up its first colonies. As they walked back to their ship, Jake felt strange. The aliens were friendly and helpful, but they seemed to think humans were weak. They talked to humans like they were children. They don't respect us, Jake said quietly to Lisa. Not yet, Lisa agreed, but they will. Once they see what humans can really do. Ben was thinking about the aliens' reaction to questions about violence. Did you notice how uncomfortable they got when we asked about crime and violence? Yes, Lisa said. I think these aliens have been peaceful for so long, they've forgotten how to fight. Jake smiled. That might be important someday. None of them knew how right Jake was. The aliens saw humans as another peaceful species. They thought humans would fit quietly into galactic society. They had no idea what humans were really capable of. The ESS Horizon left the station and headed back to Earth. The aliens watched it go. They were already making plans for humanity's small role in the galaxy, but plans were about to change. Soon, the galaxy would learn that underestimating humans was a big mistake. Pete Richards was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm went off. He was the boss of New Haven, Earth's first colony on another world. The colony was small, with only 3,000 people. Most of them were farmers and miners. Sir, we have a problem, said Mary Johnson, his assistant. Her face was white with fear. Long-range sensors show ships coming toward us. Big ships. Pete put down his coffee. How many ships? 12. They're moving fast. They'll be here in 6 hours. Pete's heart sank. He knew what this meant. Pirates. The galaxy was mostly peaceful, but pirates still existed. They attacked small colonies and stole everything they could carry. Send a message to Earth, Pete said. Tell them we're under attack. Then call an emergency meeting. Get all the department heads here now. Within an hour, Pete's office was full of people. There was Amy Foster, the colony's doctor. Carlos Martinez ran the mining operations. Linda Brooks was in charge of farming. Roy Patterson handled security for the colony. "The situation is bad," Pete said. 12 pirate ships are coming. They probably expect us to surrender without a fight." "Maybe we should," Linda said. "We're just farmers and miners. We don't know how to fight pirates." "If we surrender, they'll take everything," Roy said. "Then they'll probably sell us as slaves. I've seen what pirates do to colonies." Amy looked worried. "How many people are on those ships?" "At least 2,000, Roy answered. "Maybe more. They have better weapons and armor than us." Pete looked around the room. These people had come to New Haven to build a new life. They had families. They had dreams. He would not let pirates destroy everything they had worked for. "We're not surrendering," Pete said. "We're going to fight." "With what?" Carlos asked. "We have mining equipment and farm tools. They have military weapons. Then we'll use what we have," Pete said. "Carlos, can your mining explosives damage their ships?" Carlos thought for a moment. "Maybe, if we can get close enough." "Amy, how fast can you set up a medical station?" Pete asked. "I can have a field hospital ready in 2 hours," Amy said. "But I hope we won't need it." "We will," Pete said sadly. "Roy, what weapons do we have?" "Not much," Roy admitted. "Some hunting rifles, a few security pistols. Nothing that will stop armed pirates." Pete stood up. "Then we'll have to be smarter than them. Linda, can the farm equipment be used as weapons?" Linda looked confused. "I don't understand." "Tractors can be turned into tanks," Pete explained. "Crop dusters can drop bombs. Irrigation systems can be turned into traps." For the next 4 hours, New Haven changed. The peaceful farming colony became a fortress. Carlos and his miners placed explosives around the landing areas. They rigged charges to collapse tunnels and block roads. Linda's farmers drove their tractors to defensive positions. They welded metal plates to the sides for armor. They mounted guns on the roofs. The big machines looked like homemade tanks. Amy set up her medical station in the safest building in the colony. She gathered all the medicine and medical supplies she could find. She trained volunteers to help with wounded people. Roy organized the colonists into fighting groups. People who had never held guns learned to shoot. Miners who knew explosives became bomb experts. Even children learned to carry messages and supplies. The colony's communication system was changed into a military network. Every building could talk to every other building. Radio jammers were set up to confuse the pirates' communications. When the pirate ships arrived, their leader was surprised. Most colonies sent surrender messages. New Haven sent a different kind of message. "Unknown ships, you are not welcome here," Pete's voice said over the radio. "Leave now or face the consequences." The pirate leader, Vex Collar, laughed. He was a Skarn, a species known for violence and cruelty. "Little humans, you have no idea who you're talking to. I am Vex Collar of the Crimson Fleet. We have destroyed hundreds of colonies. Surrender now, and we might let some of you live." "The answer is no," Pete said. "New Haven will not surrender." "Then you will all die," Vex Collar said. "Attack!" The pirate ships landed around the colony. 2,000 armed pirates poured out. They expected to find scared colonists hiding in their homes. Instead, they found a war zone. The first wave of pirates ran into Carlos's minefield. Explosions shook the ground. Smoke filled the air. When the smoke cleared, half the pirates were gone. The survivors charged toward the colony buildings. Linda's armored tractors met them. The big farm machines crashed through the pirate lines. Pirates shot at the tractors, but their small weapons could not penetrate the thick armor. Roy's security teams hit the pirates from the sides. They used hunting rifles and homemade explosives. The colonists knew the ground. They used every rock and tree for cover. Amy's medical station worked perfectly. Wounded colonists were quickly treated and sent back to fight. The pirates had never seen anything like it. Usually, when people got hurt, they gave up. These humans just kept fighting. The battle lasted 3 days. The pirates had better weapons, but the humans had better tactics. Every time the pirates thought they had won, the humans hit them from a new direction. On the second day, the pirates tried to attack the colony's power plant. Carlos was ready. He had turned the plant into a giant trap. When the pirates got close, he blew up the cooling system. Superheated steam filled the air. The pirates ran away, screaming. The pirates' ships were not safe either. Human volunteers snuck out of the colony at night. They planted explosives on the pirate ships. They cut communication cables. They even poisoned the pirates' food supplies. Vex Kalar could not believe what was happening. His fleet had never been defeated by farmers and miners. But these humans were different. They fought like devils. They used every trick he had never seen. On the third day, something incredible happened. A group of humans attacked one of the pirate ships. They used mining equipment to cut through the ship's hull. They fought their way inside and captured the ship. The pirates inside the ship were trained warriors. But they had never fought humans in close combat. The humans were smaller and weaker, but they were faster and smarter. They knew how to use tools as weapons. They worked together like a team. More humans attacked other ships. Soon, the pirates found themselves fighting battles inside their own vessels. The humans were everywhere. They seemed to appear out of nowhere and disappear just as quickly. Vex Kalar realized he was losing. His fleet was being destroyed by farmers and miners. His warriors were being defeated by people who had never been soldiers. Enough! He roared. Over the radio, "We surrender. We will leave your world." "No," Pete's voice answered. "You came here to destroy us. Now you will face justice." The remaining pirates were captured. Their ships were taken by the humans. Vex Kalar himself was locked in a cage made from mining equipment. When it was over, New Haven was still standing. The colony had lost some people, but it had not been destroyed. The pirates had been defeated by ordinary humans who refused to give up. News of the battle spread quickly through the galaxy. Other species could not believe what they heard. A small human colony had defeated a famous pirate fleet. It seemed impossible. The Galactic Council sent investigators to New Haven. They wanted to see how humans had won such an impossible victory. What they found changed everything. The humans had not won through superior technology or numbers. They had won through courage, creativity, and teamwork. They had turned farming equipment into weapons. They had used their knowledge of the land to their advantage. Most importantly, they had never given up. The galaxy was about to learn that. Humans were not weak newcomers. They were something much more dangerous. They were survivors who would fight to the end for what they believed in. Pete Richards looked at his damaged colony and smiled. They had won their first battle. But he knew it would not be their last. The galaxy was a dangerous place, and humans would have to be ready for anything. The age of underestimating humanity was over. The news traveled fast. Within days, everyone in the galaxy knew about New Haven. A small human colony had defeated the famous Crimson Fleet. The pirates who had terrorized the outer worlds for generations were gone, beaten by farmers and miners. Admiral Susan Blake sat in her office on Earth's new space station. She was reading reports from across the galaxy. Her computer screen showed dozens of messages from alien governments. They all wanted the same thing: to talk to humans about military matters. "This is incredible," Susan said to her aide, Captain Tony Miller. "The Eldorians want to hire us as military advisors. The Trileks want to buy human weapons. Even the Neptari are asking about defense contracts. Tony looked at the reports. 3 months ago, they thought we were primitive. Now they think we're military geniuses. Susan laughed. Maybe we are. We just never thought about it that way. The first request came from the Eldorians. They were a peaceful species who looked like tall, thin humans with blue skin. For hundreds of years, pirates had attacked their trade ships. The Eldorians always paid the ransom and tried to avoid violence. Captain Roy Patterson received the invitation to visit the Eldorian homeworld. He had been the security chief at New Haven during the battle. Now he was famous throughout the galaxy. They want me to teach them how to fight pirates, Roy told Susan. I'm not sure what to tell them. Tell them the truth, Susan said. Show them what we learned at New Haven. Roy traveled to the Eldorian system with a small team of human advisors. What he found there surprised him. The Eldorians had advanced technology and large fleets of ships, but they had no idea how to use them for fighting. We do not understand, said Admiral Zen Kala, the Eldorian fleet commander. You defeated the Crimson Fleet with farm equipment. We have military ships and still lose to pirates. Roy studied the Eldorian ships. They were beautiful and fast, but they were not built for fighting. Your ships are designed for running away, he explained, not for fighting back. Running away is civilized, Zen Kala said. Fighting is primitive. Roy shook his head. Sometimes you have to fight to protect what you love. For the next month, Roy taught the Eldorians basic military tactics. He showed them how to work together in battle. He taught them how to use their ship's speed and technology as weapons. The Eldorians were good students. They learned quickly. Soon, their merchant ships were traveling in groups with armed escorts. When pirates attacked, the Eldorians fought back. The first pirate attack on a defended Eldorian convoy was a disaster for the pirates. The Eldorians used human tactics with their advanced technology. The pirates were completely overwhelmed. Word of the Eldorian success spread to other peaceful species. Soon, Roy and his team were traveling all over the galaxy, teaching aliens how to defend themselves. Meanwhile, the Corvan Empire was taking a different approach. They were the most militaristic species in the Galactic Council. They had large armies and powerful weapons. But they were interested in human military thinking. General Helen Morrison, Jake's sister, received an invitation to visit the Corvan homeworld. The Corvans wanted to learn about human military organization and tactics. This is different from the Eldorians, Helen told Susan. The Corvans already know how to fight. They want to learn how to fight better. The Corvan homeworld was like a giant military base. Everywhere Helen looked, she saw soldiers and weapons. The Corvans were insect-like beings who worked together like a hive mind. We have studied your victory at New Haven, said War Commander Tech Voss. Your tactics were unusual. How did you coordinate so many different actions? Helen smiled. We didn't use hive mind coordination. Each group made its own decisions based on the situation. This confused the Corvans. They were used to following orders from their commanders. The idea of soldiers making independent decisions was strange to them. But how do you prevent chaos? Tech Voss asked. If everyone makes their own choices, how do you work together? We train together, Helen explained. We learn to trust each other. Each person knows their job and does it well. The Corvans were fascinated by human military flexibility. They began training their soldiers to think independently while still working as a team. It was hard for them, but they learned. The Zephyrians had a different reaction to human military success. They were scholars and philosophers. They wanted to understand why humans were so good at fighting. Dr. Kevin Adams, a military historian from Earth, was invited to speak at the Zephyrian Academy of Sciences. He found himself explaining human military history to an audience of tall, graceful aliens. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years, Kevin explained. We have learned from every battle, every defeat, every victory. The Zephyrians were horrified and fascinated. Your species has never known peace? Asked Professor Limsadel. We have had peace, Kevin said, but we have also had war. Both have taught us important lessons. The Zephyrians began studying human military history with the same intensity they had once reserved for art and philosophy. They read about ancient battles and modern warfare. They tried to understand how humans had developed such effective fighting methods. Your species is remarkable, Limsadel told Kevin. You have turned the art of war into a science. The Trilex traders saw opportunity in humanity's military reputation. They began offering human-trained security services to other species. Most of the time, there were no actual humans involved, but the name was enough to scare away pirates. And criminals thought this caused problems for the real human military advisors. Species who hired human-trained security and still lost to pirates began to doubt human abilities. Susan Blake had to send investigators to find the fake human security companies. This is hurting our reputation, she told her staff. People think we're not as good as we really are. The investigation led to some funny discoveries. One human-trained security company was actually run by a Trilex who had watched human movies and thought he understood military tactics. Another company was using human names for alien soldiers who had never met a human. The real human advisors began working more closely with their alien students. They made sure that species who claimed to use human tactics actually knew what they were doing. The changes in the galaxy were becoming obvious. Species that had been victims of pirates and criminals were now fighting back. Trade routes that had been dangerous for centuries were becoming safe. The Galactic Council noticed these changes. They invited Susan Blake to address the full council about human military contributions to galactic security. 6 months ago, crime was a major problem in the outer systems, Susan told the assembled aliens. Today, pirate attacks are down by 60%. Criminal organizations are being destroyed every week. The council members were impressed. Some were also worried. If humans could teach other species to fight so effectively, what could humans do on their own? We appreciate your contributions to galactic peace, said Council Chairman Vor Talon, a Zephyrian. But some members are concerned about the increasing militarization of peaceful species. Susan nodded. We understand your concerns. Humans don't want to make the galaxy more violent. We want to make it safer. How can we be sure of your intentions? Asked Hive Speaker Nex Komal, a Corvin representative. Judge us by our actions, Susan said. We have helped peaceful species defend themselves. We have not conquered anyone. We have not forced our ways on anyone. The council members talked among themselves for a long time. Finally, they reached a decision. The Galactic Council officially recognizes Earth's contributions to galactic security, Vor Artalin announced. We invite humanity to take a larger role in maintaining peace throughout the galaxy. Susan accepted the invitation, but she was careful about the terms. Humans would help maintain peace, but they would not become the galaxy's police force. They would teach other species to defend themselves, but they would not fight other species' wars for them. As news of the Council's decision spread, reactions were mixed. Peaceful species were happy. They felt safer knowing that humans were helping to protect them. Criminal organizations were worried. Their easy targets were becoming dangerous enemies, but the most important reaction came from the Skarn Imperium. They were a militaristic empire that had been watching human military success with growing concern. The Skarn had dominated their part of the galaxy for thousands of years through superior military might. Now there was a new military power in the galaxy. The Skarn were not happy about it. War Commander Thek Morlock studied the reports from New Haven and other human military operations. He was impressed by human tactics, but he was also confident in Skarn's superiority. "These humans are clever," he told his staff, "but they are still small and weak. They have defeated pirates and criminals, but they have never faced a real military power." The Skarn began making plans. They would show the galaxy that the old military order was still in place. They would crush the humans and prove that the Skarn Imperium was still the strongest force in the galaxy. The humans did not know it yet, but they were about to face their greatest test. The galaxy was about to learn just how far humans would go to protect themselves and their friends. The message arrived on a Tuesday morning. Admiral Dan Crawford was eating breakfast when his aide rushed into his office with the communication from the Skarn Imperium. "Sir, you need to see this," Lieutenant Sarah Williams said, her face pale. "It's from War Commander Thek Morlock of the Skarn." Dan, read the message. It was short and direct. "Humans have grown too bold. The Skarn Imperium will remind the galaxy who the true military power is. Surrender now or be destroyed. You have 1 week to decide." Don put down the message and looked out at Earth's orbital shipyards. Human workers were building new ships as fast as they could. But even with all their new construction, Earth had fewer than 200 warships. The Skarn had thousands. "Send a message to all human colonies and military advisors," Dan said. "Tell them to prepare for war. The Skarn are coming." The Skarn Imperium was the oldest military power in the galaxy. For 3,000 years, they had conquered and controlled dozens of star systems. Their ships were huge and powerful. There, soldiers were trained from birth to fight and die for the Empire. War Commander Thek Morlock commanded the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. His flagship was the size of a city. His fleet could destroy entire planets. He had never lost a battle. "The humans think they understand war," Thek Morlock told his officers. "They have defeated pirates and criminals, but they have never faced the Skarn war machine." The Skarn plan was simple. They would attack human colonies with overwhelming force. The humans would surrender quickly, just like every other species had done. The galaxy would remember that the Skarn were the masters of war. But Dan Crawford had a different plan. He had been studying Skarn military tactics for months. He knew their strengths and their weaknesses. "We can't fight them head to head," Dan told his commanders in a secret meeting. "They have too many ships and too many soldiers. But we don't have to fight them that way." Captain Nick Hamilton, now commanding a squadron of human destroyers, looked confused. "What do you mean, sir?" "The Skarn are used to big battles between large fleets," Dan explained. "They expect us to meet them in space and fight until one side is destroyed. We're not going to do that." Instead, Dan planned to use the tactics that had worked at New Haven. The humans would strike fast and disappear. They would attack the Skarn where they were weak, not where they were strong. "We're going to hit their supply lines," Dan continued. "Their communication networks. Their fuel depots. We're going to make it impossible for them to coordinate their huge fleet." Lieutenant Commander Rachel Murphy was put in charge of special operations. Her job was to sneak behind enemy lines and cause as much damage as possible. "The Skarn have never fought an enemy like us," Rachel told her team of volunteers. "They don't know how to defend against small groups of fighters who can appear anywhere." The war began when the Skarn attacked the human colony of New Texas. Thek Morlock brought 50 warships to destroy a settlement of 10,000 people. He expected the humans to surrender immediately. Instead, the colonists evacuated to underground shelters while hidden human warships attacked the Skarn fleet from behind. The Skarn were caught completely off guard. 3 of their ships were destroyed before they even knew they were under attack. The pattern was repeated across human space. Every time the Skarn attacked a human world, they found empty cities and hidden defenses. The humans would strike quickly and then vanish, leaving the Skarn confused and angry. Meanwhile, Rachel Murphy's special operations teams were causing chaos behind Skarn lines. They destroyed fuel shipments heading to the Skarn fleet. They planted viruses in Skarn communication systems. They even kidnapped Skarn officers and learned their battle plans. The Skarn had never experienced anything like this. Their military doctrine was based on honorable battle between large forces. This hit-and-run warfare was something they did not understand. Where are the human fleets? Vek Morlek demanded of his intelligence officers. Why won't they stand and fight? We don't know, Commander, replied Intelligence Chief Kol Savar. Every time we find human ships, they disappear before we can engage them. The Skarn tried to adapt. They sent smaller groups of ships to hunt for human raiders. But the humans were always one step ahead. They seemed to know where the Skarn were going before the Skarn knew it themselves. The truth was that human intelligence operations were far more advanced than anything the Skarn had seen. Dr. Amy Foster, now working as a military analyst, had developed a network of spies and informants throughout Skarn space. The Skarn military is like a giant machine, Amy explained to Dan Crawford. But machines break down when you remove the right parts. The humans began targeting key Skarn facilities. A fuel refinery here, a communication relay there, a weapons factory somewhere else. Each attack was small, but together they were crippling. The Skarn war effort. The Skarn tried to protect their facilities by spreading their forces thin. This played right into human hands. Now the Skarn had small groups of ships scattered across dozens of systems, and the humans could attack them. One group at a time, Colonel Steve Parker led the most daring operation of the war. Intelligence had revealed that the Skarn were holding several allied species hostage. The Corvins, who had been learning human tactics, were being forced to fight for the Skarn or watch their homeworld be destroyed. We need to free the Corvins, Steve told his combined human-Eldorian task force. If we can get them on our side, we can turn this war around. The rescue operation was incredibly complex. Human ships would distract the Skarn fleet, while Eldorian fast scouts snuck into the Corvin system. Meanwhile, special operations teams would disable the Skarn weapons pointed at the Corvin. Homeworld. Everything had to happen at exactly the right time. If any part of the plan failed, millions of Corvins would die. The operation began at dawn, Galactic Standard Time. Human ships appeared near the main Skarn base, drawing their attention. While the Skarn were focused on this attack, Eldorian ships slipped past the defenses. Rachel, Murphy's team infiltrated the orbital weapons platform above the Corvin homeworld. Using skills they had learned fighting pirates, they disabled the massive weapons without being detected. At the same time, Steve Parker's forces landed on the Corvin homeworld itself. They found the Corvin leaders being held prisoner in the capital city. We're here to help, Steve told War Commander Tech Voss, the Corvan he had worked with during peacetime. Are you ready to fight back? Tech Voss looked at the human soldiers who had risked their lives to rescue his people. We have been waiting for this moment. The Corvins are ready to join the fight. The liberation of the Corvin worlds was the turning point of the war. Suddenly, the Skarn faced not just human raiders, but organized Corvin military units fighting alongside human forces. The Corvins brought something the humans lacked: large numbers of trained soldiers and heavy weapons. Combined with human tactics and leadership, they formed an unstoppable force. Vek Morlak realized his empire was in trouble. His huge fleet was scattered across dozens of systems, chasing human raiders who vanished like ghosts. His supply lines were constantly under attack. His allies were turning against him. How is this possible? He asked his remaining advisors. We have the largest military in the galaxy. How are we losing to these primitive humans? The answer was simple, but Morlap could not see it. The Skarn had built their military for the old kind of warfare. Big fleets attacking each other in open space. Honorable battles between equals. The humans had invented a new kind of warfare. Fast, flexible, and unpredictable. They used every advantage they could find. They turned the Skarn's size against them. They made the Skarn's rigid military structure a weakness instead of a strength. The war's final battle never happened. Instead, the Skarn Imperium slowly fell apart. Their military units began surrendering, one by one, as their supply lines collapsed and their morale broke. The end came when Morlap's own officers staged a revolt. They had watched their empire crumble while chasing human ghosts across the galaxy. They had seen their friends die in pointless battles against an enemy they could never catch. "Commander, we request that you surrender," said Admiral Vel Cross, Morlap's second in command. "Our people are dying for nothing. This war cannot be won." Morlap looked around his command center. Half his fleet was gone. The other half was scattered and demoralized. His empire, which had stood for 3,000 years, was falling apart. How did they do it? He asked quietly. How did these humans defeat us? Velcross had been studying human tactics throughout the war. They never tried to be stronger than us, Commander. They made us weaker than ourselves. On a Tuesday morning, exactly 6 months after the war began, Morlap sent a message to Admiral Dan Crawford. The Skarn Imperium requests terms for surrender. Don read the message in the same office where he had first learned of the Skarn threat. So much had changed in half a year. The humans had gone from defending their colonies to liberating entire star systems. "What terms do we offer them?" asked Captain Nick Hamilton. Dan thought carefully. The humans had won, but they had not won through cruelty or revenge. They had won by being smarter and more flexible than their enemies. "Fair terms," Dan said finally. "The Skarn military will be disbanded. Their conquered territories WI." 1 year after the Skarn surrender, the galaxy looked very different. General Lisa Rodriguez walked through the halls of the new Galactic Defense Academy on the former Skarn capital world. Students from 50 different species were learning. Together, sharing knowledge and building friendships that would have been impossible under the old empire. "It's amazing how much has changed," said Captain Nick Hamilton, who now served as the Academy's Director of Tactical Training. "A year ago, these species were enemies or strangers. Now they're working together." Lisa nodded as she watched a class where human instructors taught Aldorian cadets about small unit tactics, while Corvan engineers explained advanced weapon systems to human students. "This is what we fought for," she said. "Not to conquer anyone, but to give everyone a chance to learn and grow." The Academy was the symbol of the new galactic order. Instead of one species dominating others through force, the galaxy was now protected by a coalition of species working together. Each species contributed their unique abilities to the common defense. The humans provided military leadership and tactical innovation. The Eldorians contributed their fast ships and excellent pilots. The Corvans brought their advanced technology and engineering skills. Even the peaceful Zephyrians found ways to help, using their diplomatic skills to prevent conflicts before they started. The changes went far beyond military matters. Trade routes that had been dangerous for centuries were now completely safe. The Trilex merchants reported a 300% increase in commerce. Species that had been isolated for generations were now part of a thriving galactic economy. Ambassador Lisa Carter, now serving as Earth's representative to the reformed Galactic Council, was amazed by the transformation. "The piracy problem has been completely eliminated," she told the assembled delegates. Criminal organizations across the galaxy have either surrendered or been destroyed. The success came from a simple but revolutionary idea. Instead of just punishing criminals after they committed crimes, the new Galactic Defense Forces prevented crime from happening in the first place. Human-trained security teams were stationed throughout the galaxy, ready to respond to any threat within hours. But the most important change was in how different species viewed each other. The old galaxy had been divided between the strong and the weak, the conquerors and the conquered. The new galaxy was built on cooperation and mutual respect. Dr. Ben Taylor, now directing the Interspecies Cultural Exchange Program, saw this change every day. Before the war, most species barely talked to each other, he explained to a group of visiting students. Now we have joint research projects, cultural festivals, and exchange programs happening all over the galaxy. The Neptari, who had been confined to their water worlds for millennia, were now establishing colonies on dozens of planets with human help. The Voidlings, mysterious energy beings who had avoided contact with physical species, were now sharing their knowledge of advanced physics with human scientists. Even former enemies were finding ways to work together. Many Skarn warriors had joined the new Galactic Defense Forces, where they learned that their strength could be used to protect rather than conquer. War Commander Thek Morlach had become an instructor at the Defense Academy, teaching students about the mistakes of the old imperial system. I spent my life conquering worlds, he told his classes. But I never understood that cooperation is stronger than conquest. The economic transformation was just as dramatic as the military and cultural changes. With piracy eliminated and trade routes secure, the galactic economy was booming. New technologies were being developed through interspecies cooperation. Art and culture flourished as different species shared their traditions. The Trilix had established a new stock exchange where species could invest in each other's businesses. The Eldorians were building faster ships using human tactical innovations and Corvan engineering. The Zephyrians were writing new forms of poetry inspired by human stories of courage and sacrifice. Captain Roy Patterson, now retired from military service, had opened a security consulting business that trained civilian organizations to protect themselves. Everyone deserves to feel safe, he told his clients. No one should have to live in fear of criminals or pirates. The transformation was not without challenges. Some species were suspicious of human influence. They worried that humans were trying to control the galaxy, just like the Skarn had done. General Lisa Rodriguez addressed these concerns in a speech to the Galactic Council. Humans don't want to rule the galaxy, she said. We want to protect it. There's a difference between leadership and domination. To prove this point, the humans had done something unprecedented. They had shared their military technology and tactics with every species in the galaxy. Human military advisors were training alien forces, but they were also learning from their students. We're not trying to make everyone fight like humans, explained Colonel Steve Parker, who now coordinated military training programs across 12 sectors. We're trying to help each species develop their own strengths and abilities. The results were impressive. The Eldorians had developed new space combat techniques that combined their natural speed with human tactical flexibility. The Corvans had created defensive systems that used their hive mind, coordination along with human strategic thinking. Even the peaceful species had found ways to contribute. The Zephyrians used their diplomatic skills to mediate disputes before they became violent. The Neptari used their understanding of fluid dynamics to develop new ship designs that were faster and more efficient than anything previously built. The greatest test of the new system came when the Outer Rim Rebellion tried to establish a criminal empire in the galaxy's unexplored regions. Unlike the old days, when such threats would have been ignored until they became major problems, the Galactic Defense Forces responded immediately. A combined fleet of human, Eldorian, Corvan, and Neptari ships arrived in the outer rim within. Days of the first reports. The rebels found themselves facing not one species, but a united galaxy that would not tolerate criminal activity. The rebellion collapsed without a single major battle. Most of the rebels surrendered when they realized they were facing the same forces that had defeated the mighty Skarn Empire. Admiral Dan Crawford, now serving as the Supreme Commander of Galactic Defense Forces, reflected on how much had changed since humanity's first contact with alien species. 3 years ago, we were newcomers begging for a place in the galaxy, he told his staff. Now we're helping to build a galaxy where everyone has a place. The transformation was visible everywhere. Space stations that had once been military fortresses were now centers of trade and culture. Worlds that had been conquered and enslaved were now free and prosperous. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now allies and friends. Humans had achieved something that no other species in galactic history had managed. They had used their military power not to conquer, but to liberate. They had become the most feared force in the galaxy, but they were feared by criminals and tyrants, not by peaceful civilizations. As Lisa Carter looked out at the stars from her office on the Galactic Council Station, she remembered Jake Morrison's words from humanity's first visit. They don't respect us yet, but they will. Now the galaxy did more than respect humans. They trusted them. They looked to human leadership not because they were forced to, but because they chose to. The humans had proven that strength and compassion could work together. The age of empires and conquest was over. The age of cooperation and mutual protection had begun. And at the center of it all were the humans, who had gone from being dismissed as primitive newcomers to becoming the guardians of galactic peace. The galaxy was safe, free, and prosperous. The humans had kept their promise to build a better future for everyone. They had become the nightmare of those who would harm the innocent, and the protectors of those who sought to live in peace. The transformation was complete. From newcomer to nightmare to guardian, humanity had found its place among the stars.